Good evening and welcome to Cafè Lena. Thanks for watching this live stream production from Saratoga Springs, New York. These live streams are made possible by the generous support of the Sarah B. Folk Charitable Fund and by our community of subscribers. Special thanks to our Virtuoso level subscribers and lifetime Cafè Lena members. By buying a ticket for this performance, you're supporting independent music and the mission of our historic nonprofit venue. Enjoy your front row seats for this show, live from Cafè Lena.
In case you think that it's really Tuesday, it really is Wednesday. It's not storytelling open mic. Good evening, friends. I'm Janine Laverty, and I feel so honored to be introducing Carol Graser as the featured poet tonight. I realized that I couldn't bound up the stairs the way Carol does to welcome us every month. But I would like to follow her habit of reading a poem to start the evening. And because I'm so greedy to hear more and more of Carol's poems read, I'm going to read part of one of her poems. This is the last section, number 9, from a longer poem called Dear One. This is from her 2007 book, The Wild Twist of Their Stems, which is also out there for sale, and it's another wonderful book. So I'll read that, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about Carol, even though most of you probably know these things. So, Dear One, I'm tired. And I see your sister at 2, laboring sweetly up Grandma's stairs, hand in hers. She says, let's be pretend I'm the mommy and you be my baby. I'm working hard at going slow, waiting for her small feet to manage these steps. I'm straining my muscle of patience. Beads of sweat pop inside my head. I gasp to hold this measure of calm interest. Sure, okay. We've played this game before. And when the breath of my ascent, when those first waves tingle in her small ear, she's like an actress of instinctual skill. On her first exhale as mom, she's in perfect form. I so tired, baby. So a lot of us have been waiting for this night and this book for quite a while. Tonight we get to celebrate Carol Graser, the mom and guiding spirit of Cafè Lena's poetry open mic since 2003. I think that I met Carol not here, but when she was working at Northshire and holding a monthly poetry session that I loved. It took me longer to get here to poetry at Cafè Lena. I love the new book, Prayer for the Sorrowful Brain, from its cover to the 3 great verbs on the back and every poem in between. Reading the poems, I went from laughing to racing to the next poem, to tender sorrow, to frowning attention, to smiling familiarity. Oh yes, me too. And once, I found myself so rushing to read the next poem that it was only at the end that I looked up at the title. Oh, no wonder. Carol's work has been published, according to this new book, in 31 journals, ranging from the Berkeley Poetry Review, Midwest Quarterly, Southern Poetry Review, Midwifery Today, and my favorite, Trailer Park Quarterly. and maybe Carol knows why that's my favorite. She reads her poems at political rallies as well as poetry events and has run poetry workshops for teens and at-risk youth. She lives with her husband Jeffrey on the edge of the Adirondacks, where they have raised 3 children, countless chickens, and a few cats. Please give our dear Carol a great welcome.
Well, that was too sweet. I can't go on. Thank you so much, Janine. It's really been lovely to know you and work with and read poetry together over the years. Thank you guys so much for coming. It's so great to see you all. Let's hear you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out in the winter. I'm going to start with a couple of older poems from the first book, partly because it's very tough times, obviously, and it's very hard to feel any kind of hope. So this first poem is a poem of renewal, and it's called I Give You Birth, and it's literal, but I'm thinking also of just giving birth to hope. So I give you birth. I gotta adjust the light here, hold on. I give you birth under the fat black sky, heavily salted. I give you birth in palm of all mothers, seat of explosion, peppercorn crunched in the mouth. I give you birth before the sun's heat has gathered, before the slant rays can dry her grasses. I give you birth beneath the canopy of branches, rocky tumult of debris, decay's rough turn to abundance. I give you birth in cave of all voices of labor, poetry carved in every word of all tongues, chant of vast rhythms echoed in rounds. I give you birth like a diamond stolen, retrieved from dumb finger, brought back to earth's vein. I give you birth traveling the ticking gears of clocks, having learned that hair-raising tightrope walk, I arrive at your perfect click. I give you birth to clinging to the mane of one among stampedes of horses. My blood is the sound of rushing forward. My face rests on the sweating neck of speed. I give you birth as I've been your vessel, as I've been your ocean, your distance crossed. I give you birth onto woven hammock of patient, impatient arms. Your cheeks have been shaped to their kiss. I give you birth in anonymous rooms, hotel furniture, sheets of no smell. I give you mirth among green-gowned strangers, TV tilted, catching our view. I give you birth beneath crush of hospital layers, doctors, administrators, insurance, the state. I give you birth in avalanche pocket. We come howling mystery, our voice stains the air. I give you birth, gray rain pummeling ground, breaking deluge, pelting dissolve. I give you birth, undertow of contractions, seized by the waist, there is no shore. I give you birth, undeniable sinking, salty beginnings, breath of each cell. I give you birth, grunting push of sloth woman, belly deep chanter, oh, anti-demure. I give you birth, catching emerging black-haired head, slippery to hands that have dried from such water. I give you birth, cradle you finally. Wet cheek sogs blessing my breasts. I am fallen to small-lipped depths, swallowed by the sweet mouth of newness. How are you guys doing? Yeah. We got through the first snowstorm, the first big snowstorm. I have a couple winter storms coming up. This one is another poem from the first book, just kind of feeding on the idea of nurturing hope, the wild twist of their stems. Like two fresh Buddhas they sit on the top bunk, conspiring play, two believers, two thin air breathers, scalps closer to ceiling than mine ever is. She bubbles in like a bent leg dancer, a flesh splasher. I'm the never let you go catcher, but I always let her go. He's the larger and climbs on his own down to the rough rug, plant of our feet. He's the bold, spirited leaper I apprenticed with. I live like a gardener, doggedly tending the wild twist of their stems, fending off what I can of disease. It is impossible work, rooted where they are, and though their beauty demands more strength than I lately possess, still I persist in refusing to abandon the effort. I'm not used to having a book to read from, so I still have paper. I was a little concerned about not being able to make it through the book. So, this is a winter poem. The icicle. In the depths of winter, the snow finally became an icicle. Her lifelong dream to grow by melting, to be clear in her intentions, to stretch thinly from a fat start, to overhang the bareheaded, walking in and out of doors and silently threaten. In the deep freeze of winter, she perched and hung heavily. Gusty winds trembled her length. Complacent in her mass, she blinked slowly, blank with certainty. Everything would happen, the bright shine and steady drip, the slow loosening, the sun's hot gaze, her perfect, daring leap, the jarring crash. Okay, so this next one is another winter poem. This is written during or after at the end of a very harrowing, particularly harrowing winter. I'll tell you a little bit more about it afterwards, after I read it. The winter she left us for temporary work in Kansas. While we hunkered down under early storms and frigid air, while we crunched through days of squeak and bladed wind, while our windows filled with white and streets became trenches that locked cars in treacherous battle, as we braved our way to work and store, she endured the caress of a warmer wind and pined for northeast cold. While we emerged from the collective heave of ice only to be plunged into the next harrowing dump of snow, while we trailed with docility behind lumbering rust-yellow plows, praising the salt they tossed, the trembling, fertile, feeble paths they made, she brushed her hair in sunlight and dreamt of catching snowflakes on her tongue. While we peered out of caked, bleak eyes, our boldness eroded, our skin weary of bracing, our lank arms stuffed into padded sleeves of defeat, she flew home to our dusted over, dirty white and rejoiced at the forecast of the next day's storm. I loved to shovel, she exclaimed. I missed the snow, she swooned. We silently killed her. And honestly, what happened is Janine said that to me, and I was like, don't say that. Like, be careful who you say that to. It's very dangerous. right. This is called The Bird in the Stone. The bird followed the stone into the ground. She loved him. She thrilled him with songs of flight. Her small head rested on his round back. Her wing brushed his heart. Together they would heave and sink. Together listen to the soft lives of toads and worms. He was her cottage. She was his nest. They lived in a generosity of roots. They plunked memories down in neat cemetery rows, epitaph after epitaph. The winter the stone died, the bird shook the dirt from her wings and laid him at the bottom of an icy creek. She hopped on the snowy bank and watched him shine. That was the end of that. Okay, here's another one. Oh. All right, so this is a childhood poem, Pope Air Force Base. When my father came home from Vietnam, I wanted a doll, one dressed in colorful costume, message from a far-flung culture. I loved those dolls, loved to touch their storied fabrics. I loved to hold each country's name on my tongue: Scotland, Germany, Thailand, the Philippines. When my father came home from Vietnam, he brought my mother a black eye. He brought home a man who, when he drank, I had to learn to sit still and quiet as a doll, had to aim to become not a target. He brought home a new room, a secret door that as I touched it was not allowed to feel. Sometimes the door opened at night in the middle of flannel pajamas, graham crackers on a Saturday plate. Sometimes the door lurked like a constant raven, peering over my ponytailed head, and when the silent latch lifted, when the door swung wide, war broke out like fiery terror somewhere in our ranch-style Air Force Base house. Across the street, another father lavished his barbed souvenirs, and another down the street, and one 2 blocks over. And while the unquiet dead were never laid out, bloody and real, across our hopscotch military streets, still we felt them. Still, we became children of that same unnecessary grief. Okay, I want to switch gears. I took a lot of workshops with Bernadette Mayer and got a lot of poems that I'm fond of out of them. So this is one of those. Then the assignment was to like make a poem that's like a pitch for a TV show or a movie or something. So the original title is called The Pitch. What if Emily Dickinson's rise to poetic stardom was a reality TV show? Think a Victorian house with staid, heavy furniture. A white figure wisps across a distant hallway, cut to a bee hovering studiously over a patch of red clover. Characters will include an absolute silence, wind, sometimes soft, sometimes wailing, death, and a rotating cast of flowers and insects. Emily herself has stipulated we can only film her in passing. Each confessional is a poem, ink spreading on paper, abandoned in random scripted spots discovered by the camera lying, say, among the debris of a finished breakfast. And this next poem is a Binghamton poem, which my Binghamton joke is, I had a friend who was a sign language interpreter, and she told me that the word for, like, this is a letter B, and this is the word for boring, and the sign language word for Binghamton was So this is a plastic factory based in Binghamton. Image collision in grocery store aisle. bowled over by camel hair coat precise, with a soft plaid piece of fine wool wrapped around his neck, he stacked 8 high, blue, green, gold cans of cat food, face of baby white. I buy my food under fluorescence and drive away in circles, always back to factories' constant clatter, humming noise beneath our skin. Gold-haired mother wads the cotton in behind the itch, reads the classifieds 5 seconds at a time to buy a new used car. How many highway miles did she walk? Damn thing died. It was 5 below zero. To the ceiling high with cardboard boxes, Jesse smiles with his 5 kinds of pens and 9 tools for every job. We risk it by 1 pair of cutters and a knife. He tells me 15-minute times just so how to trim the plastic traffic lights. My body shivers like this car's engine rumbles and waits. I see his face inside the round red blinking out. This white dusk air freezes cars to crunching slow motion. Would she think him a fool? This curlicue woman in University Lounge. Her small car crippled, she stamps her clean leather boots, then couch slumps weary, finals time agonized, then phone grumbles sweetly, Dad will pay for parts. Carpet on the floor beneath her boots, and white, clean white paint on walls, cushion clean and clutter nice, whir and chink of copy machine. My circles blur, and every student a QC inspector, marking down the other's words. Red sticker, red sticker, red sticker, my brain. This old black car is humming nice as I drive away back to Bubba's t-shirt, always ripped. 1 round patch of pink flesh skin like a window as grease-black hands raise, pull finger-thick link, cube of steel swings slightly upward. My machine chunks open, releases apart. I cradle warm plastic, breakaway gate like umbilical cord. My knife trims the navel. 28 machines simultaneous open. I cup spirit's thin flame like a match until clock boss clicks, pushes us free. Dark fumed mist, metal mother released. I breathe like new, this air. I drive away in circles through a clogged tumble of city, up and out through gradations of civilization, and emerge to hilltops' dark stillness. Evergreens point in silence. Diana, sweet curve of light, I am home. So we have all kinds of wonderful people that come and be part of the open mic here and are very generous and understanding of the limitations. And so I wrote a poem about someone who was not that way. This is really the worst example, but that's the inspiration, right? Portrait of a poet unhappy with the size of his crowd. His ears were new in town, but he had been listening to them all his life. His hair had receded into those ears, disappeared entirely from his head. The mustache that lived on his lip was a healthy, much-loved deer, a deliciously pampered only child. He could open his mouth, lift the mustache lid, and tell you everything about his teeth. He came up my spares, dreading niceties, introduced himself as a caricature I wanted to erase. At our wedding reception, his brother exposed himself to the bridesmaid, while an earthquake toppled honeymoons in the tropics. We moved into a moldy home furnished at bargain prices. Mornings I drank strawberry daiquiris in a soft blue bathrobe and wrote poems about nausea. He died first, and I had his mustache removed in one piece. I wanted to see if it could fly. I wanted the casket closed. I kept walking away from him, and he kept coming back to me like, are we still going to do this? There's so few people here. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure he's a lovely person. It was just an evening. So this is a, I'll just read it. I'll just read it. How are you guys hanging in there? I got a few more. Okay. Here with the rugged picnickers. I'm going to start over. Here with the rugged picnickers and the woman in her yellow T-shirt and her blue bladed oars and red canoe, her daughter at the prow, her son a few feet away in his neon green child-sized kayak. They stay close to shore, skimming through the choppy water. She doesn't wear a life jacket, but the children do. Rain threatens, wind whips, the sky is stingy with its blue. In the car, the news was all virus and rising numbers. The news was all death tolls and shortages. The wind pulls my hair out behind me. I sit beside a small creek that ripples through muddy green until it hits the sand and rocks near the lake. Rocks the size of field mice, of turtles, of cows resting on the ground. The woman brings her canoe to shore, and her children wander between the rocks in bare feet. They jump back and forth across the creek. The girl wades into the lake up to the bottom of her skirt. They keep their life jackets on, and a mother duck drifts by with at least a dozen half-grown chicks. At this picnic table, I've gathered my deceased parents who took me to picnics by the lake with a canoe, and my deceased son, our newborn, who never left the hospital. An inchworm with thin black stripes along its green length is doggedly exploring the picnic table's potential, pulling itself up by its full height, swaying back and forth, searching for an upward hold that doesn't exist. My parents are silent and seem happier than I remember. My son, who is the most expansive, tells me the trees are used to picnics with the dead. He says an inchworm is still an inchworm, regardless. Okay, this is the next poem. It's probably the most personal. I had my appendix removed a few years ago, and I felt a loss afterwards, like that phantom appendage kind of thing. Appendix. So I wrote a poem about my appendix. It's called The Appendix. The appendix believed she was part of the large intestine. She didn't have an origin story. At digestive tract meetings, she dangled silently. Sometimes they forgot to leave her a chair. She had ideas for departmental improvements, but knew she needed more clout before she could speak. At parties, she hung at the edges of conversations, contributed comments that no one bothered to hear. She was in love with the liver, but who wasn't, that dark whale of an organ? You are beautiful and vital, she told herself. They would be lost without you. She wasn't getting any younger. She knew that. She threw herself into the task of harboring digestive bacteria. She harbored impeccably. She harbored with zeal until she harbored the wrong crowd. No one answered her calls to 911. Well, that's just typical, she said, in her first bitter tone. She swelled in self-pity and found comfort in her smarmy new friends. Everyone's got some good in them, she rationalized, making room for a few more. When finally someone noticed, when the bright light of attention held her in its glare, she capitulated almost violently. I'll be good, she sobbed. I didn't mean it, she pleaded. But the handcuffs were already clamped to her wrists. The large intestine pulled back from the commotion, the bad taste. I knew she'd be dragged off someday, whispered the colon, as her wails trailed off in the distance, and a thick hush fell over them all. I have to say, I was home with appendicitis for a couple of days because my symptoms weren't really strong, and I was looking up like organs on the right side of the body, and it's like all of them. Like all your organs are over there. All right, so this is the last poem. This is my rant of a poem. It's called Now is the Time. So I'm going to say thank you first. Thank you all for coming out. Thanks to Joe and Glenn for being here every month for the open mic and all the support at Caffè Lena. All right, so here's the last poem. Now is the time. Let the patriarchs heave and explode in their last gasp of insecure power. They are dying. Their hearts are beating out of sync with our future. They are rotting. Their grip among the boulders, their anchorage is slipping. Now is the time to witness that last vigorous rush of activity. In their gushing love for profit, they are rushing about, filling their near infinite golden cups, and some soon tomorrow they'll be buried. We'll stand at their graves and murmur about their just days ago revival. The good brown earth will swallow them. The fertile meal from their bones will feed nations. When their houses are cleared, their furniture repurposed, their metals melted back to pure, once we've sorted and recycled and dumped and burned and donated, and there is nothing left of those fetid foundations, we will regain ground. We need sunflowers eating their toxin. We need new fields of varied wildflowers. We need the jump of meaty rabbits, the thick hum of bees, the crazy lives of dragonflies darting through our air. We who have been coddled and bathed in honeyed water, we who have been outcast and neglected, who in our shunned state have reveled in resilience, we tell the ones still fighting the war is resolved. The patriarch is mortal and dead. This is the rebuilding. We are connected by the same color of our blood. We are connected by the same air in our lungs, by the bone in our precious skulls. We are connected by our same mouths, born, rooting for the same sweet milk. Yay! Thank you so much. One more? What are you in the mood for?
Another bodily organ one.
Funny one.
Green.
The ironing board? Does that sound good? The ironing board hasn't left the closet in years. She sneezes at her own dust, clatters on to the damp mop about the old basement laundry, the joys of never being collapsed. I used to hold things, she says. She goes on about the iron and that tricky heat, the ashtray, the cigarettes with their smooth spirals of smoke, the Diet Pepsi always tinkling her ice. The ironing board was essential and sturdy in her time. Her crossed T legs held up countless indeterminate moments. Every day she stood in front of that washer and dryer like exact proof of a mother. Now she's given up her dream of a new wardrobe of linen shirts. She makes a dash for it one spring cleaning afternoon, lets her sturdy legs take her on a giddy, hobbling flight. No one hears from her for months. There's an uncomfortable hope that she's made it to the edge of town, has found some peace or repurpose at the city dump. She turns up eventually in the park, feeding chunks of bread to indigent ducks. I miss the cigarettes, she says to a mallard, and the Pepsi and the melting ice. She leans back against the sun-warmed bench. The iron was kind of a bastard, she breathes, folding and unfolding her legs. Well, thank you. I want to... My son, Austin, is here to run the open mic. So welcome Austin to the stage to get us started. Do you have the open mic list?
Yeah.
All right.
I got it.